What's up, boys? Welcome to another guide. Today I'm gonna be showing you how to mech, how to be the top tier Terran players with mech. I did a guide earlier how to beat mech with bio, and now I'm gonna show you guys how to beat bio with mech for the mech fans. I know there's a lot of you as well. So let's see. Now this is a game from my DreamHack series against Hero Marine actually. I wanted to do this game because this game I played, I feel like pretty much the golden standard of mech in my opinion, a very safe build. I think as long as I remember correctly, I did everything according to the guidelines for the early and mid game at least. So yeah, that's why I wanted to show you guys this one. Now, obviously you can do mech from all different kind of builds. For me, this is the standard one. TVT often is very volatile, so you'll end up doing a bunch of different builds, and yeah, things may change, but the build I'm doing here, this is a very standard. I think it's very safe. Like every TVT build, it probably does have a weakness somewhere. You can't really avoid that in TVT. All you can do is scout as good as you can and you know, react and stuff. So I'm gonna be going for the double gas. With this version, I actually got 3 SCVs from the gases instead of 2. So we're gonna get that factory down. And normally you take 1 SCV out of each gas, but with this one, I'm actually gonna take 3 out in total. So we're gonna have 2 on one and 1 on the other gas. So a rule usually for TVT is that if you play against another double gas, you either stay at home or you camp in the middle or something. And if you play against a Reaper Expand, you want to pressure with your first 3 units. Now, usually I notice a difference because of their SCV scout and the timing of their SCV scout. Against me, people don't usually scout with double gas because it's just so expensive, just like I'm doing here. My opponents probably assume that I'm doing a double gas as well, just like I'm assuming that's what he is doing. So I'm just going to be chilling at home. Another key difference as well is that if you play against the Reaper Expand, if you're convinced you're playing against the Reaper Expand, it may be better to cut the 4th and 5th unit. So there's 2 setups you can go for a double gas pretty much, unless you go for 1-1-1. Is you either make 2 Reapers and 1 Hellion, like this, the most standard setup, or you go for 3 Reapers and 2 Hellions. Now if you play against the Reaper Expand, the best timing you can hit is with these 3 units, because they won't have their 2 Hellions out yet, or yeah, most likely 2 Hellions, that's what they usually go for. But if you play against a double gas, this is a lot safer, so you don't get pushed by 5 units. You can push with 5 units yourself against double gas. That's what I'm gonna do here. Just a little bit of early game knowledge. It's very complicated. Hopefully one day I'll be able to make like a comprehensive guide for you guys. Now, with this build, we go into the double tech lab. Oh, just to clarify, the moment you drop this depot is the moment you resaturate your gases. So normally you just rally into gas when you're maxed out on minerals. When you have 16-16, you start rallying into gas. But with this build, you actually manually put some SCVs back onto the gas once you start the depot. So just so you guys get it right, that means you'll have 14 SCVs on the minerals for a bit until you make 2 more. So you get the Cyclone and the Raven. Now one more tip to make the build go very easy for you guys, including this 3rd gas, is that in TVT with these builds you can pretty much doing everything by rallying your SCV. So the timing of this gas is once your gas and minerals are saturated, so you have 22 SCVs here, 3 gas, 16 minerals. The next SCV, that's going to rally down to make this gas, and it's going to finish just in time for your natural to be done. So then we go for the 3rd. I'm not making an add-on on the barracks, by the way, with this build order. I rely pretty much on the Ravens for defense. Now this is what's in my opinion the safest combination to do. I like to go for 3 Ravens, 2 Cyclones. I feel like you can get map control, you can defend Banshees very easily, you can defend Raven Arrest very easily. And once you notice there's none of that, you can move out with both Cyclones. If you have this squad alive, this is a very good squad to move out with. moving out with just a Cyclone is very risky, because sometimes you'll meet like a Reaper and a Cyclone, and then your Cyclone locks onto the Reaper, and it just goes to shit. So just to clarify the 4th gas timing, you put down the 4th gas right after your 3rd CC goes down. So it's a pretty early 4th gas. eBay has to be very early. With this kind of mech build where you go for the double tech lab, you're just gonna have a lot of minerals. So at the start, you make a lot of, you make some turrets in defense. You get it early just in case of a medevac drop. Mech is the most vulnerable early game, by the way, by far. A quick medevac drop most likely is gonna kill you a bunch of times until you get it down. So with this builder, we're gonna go for 3 Ravens. I feel like this is especially optimal for mech, because like you just don't have that many Marines. You want to be making factories, you want to get out up your tank count in time. So the way you defend pushes is with the auto turrets. You don't rely on a lot of Marines. That's why with mech, unless you do a weird build order, unless it's kind of a weird game, you must get 3 Ravens for the defense. I'm not doing this for any other reason. Later on you can harass. In the airfight they're okay later on. But this is mostly to defend those early tank pushes, so you can spam auto turrets. Now, this is about how I would recommend to defend. You get 2 turrets into the main, 1 in the natural. This game, this actually helped me against this Raven. He was going for some Raven harass and it defended it. Like, you've probably all experienced it. Raven harass is so annoying. So, yeah, this barracks is just going to be making all the add-ons. This is an important point. It's not super critical, but just, you know, any seconds you can save is important. So the way you do it is, you have this factory. This factory is always going to be here. Then you have the starport making Ravens. As soon as your 3rd Raven starts, you make a reactor for your starport. So you make the reactor in your barracks so you can leave your starport on it. And then you make another reactor for your factory. So, yeah, 3 of these add-ons are actually made by your barracks in total. So that's actually important. Try to keep up with that. It may be hard to do it perfectly, but that's fine. If you miss making an add-on with your barracks, it's really not that big of a deal. So after 3 Ravens, you go into Vikings. And then you go 3 factories into the double armories. Very important here is you can see I have a lot of gas. This is where you want to be. You want to have this much gas. So you make these 5th and 6th gases just as you land your 3rd, like right away. It's very important. With mech, it's so easy to just go too high on minerals and then you're like, what do I do? And you make like 6 turrets in your main. But early on, if you do it right, you can't afford this. This is about what it looks like. You can see it's still in a very good ratio. So you get the 1-1. Now his stim is finished and his medevacs are finished. That's usually when it's time to pull the Cyclones back. They can't really do anything anymore. So you get your 4th and 5th factory. And at this point, the way I would recommend your setup is to have about 3 tanks siege at the front. You have map control. And I would siege 1 tank in the natural. And besides that, I would actually keep most of your tanks unsieged. The way you get map control is you fly out the barracks after your 3 factories. And you send out random Hellions. I should have 1 Hellion here. I'm probably gonna do it in a bit. And then what's most scary is like an unexpected drop in the main. You're always going to clear it up, but you might lose some stuff. And if you have to take it slow, that's a bad sign. So I actually like to keep some tanks unsieged, so I can go back into the main. Now right now I lost my map control for a bit. That's why I'm all sieged up at the front, because I was kind of expecting an attack. I put 2 turrets with the 2 Cyclones in the main to defend. Just drops are really the killer of mech early on. Mech is really vulnerable in this stage. Right now I'm already pretty safe. I'm up to like 10 Vikings, 8 tanks. I'm already at the good spot, but you really need to be careful for drops early on. So I would keep 3 tanks siege at the front, unless he's pushing more. If he pushes with everything, then you actually siege everything at the front, right? But if you're not sure, keep some tanks unsieged so you can move them quickly to your main if you have to in case of a drop. Now the first 2 upgrades I always get are Blue Flame, right here, and the Servos upgrade for the Hellbats. Okay, so scouting and reacting with mech is actually quite important. Up until about 10 Vikings, maybe a bit more, maybe 8, just around this time, you want to scout what he's doing exactly. If you scout that your opponent's not going for air, like right now I scanned this, maybe I should have scanned a bit more in the main, I see some Vikings producing. If your opponent's going for Vikings, you just want to keep on making Vikings. If your opponent is actually making just medevacs and bio, you want to actually add some medevacs in your army for the Blue Flame Hellbat drops. A Blue Flame Hellbat drop is absolutely killer against bio. They can't stim in. You'll drop it on their army and their units will just... They will go nuts. They won't be able to get onto you. And you don't need that many Vikings if it's just playing as medevac bio, right? So here I see the starports, finally. As you can see, scanning pretty okay in this phase. I have all my setup already. Gonna make some more turrets now. Yeah, scanning is not the end of the world for my money anymore. So yeah, once again, if you see the opponent going for air, you just make more Vikings, it's no big deal. And if you think you can squeeze in some medevacs, you do it. But usually you just... If you think you already have a way better air army, or your opponent's not making air at all, that's when you get medevacs for the Blue Flame Hellbat drops. Now I would recommend taking this forward rather fast, just as it finishes you can lift. As you can see, at this point you have easily enough tanks to be able to defend both bases. I have 13. And yeah, I mean, how many tanks? There's like 8, 9 tanks here, and this is still very safe. Now, because I got to the time where I wanted to push out, and this is actually, to be honest, I didn't see the Vikings in this game when I was scanning and everything. So I really thought it was bio, so I made extra turrets. The one thing you don't want is to get 2 drops to get in at all. It's just annoying to deal with drops. You're gonna have to send slow tanks back. As you can see, you have 13 tanks, which is already a lot. Imagine you have a bit less. You have 8 or 10. You have 3 siege here, 3 here, and then you need to send a bunch to the main, and it opens up all other possibilities for him to push, right? So really, if you think he might be dropping, just throw down a bunch of turrets. Not too early, of course. This is a very good mech map, by the way. 5 bases are pretty easy to defend. Now, an important unit composition thing. Like I said, this game, I thought he was just going for bio style, without the air army. But normally, you make tanks until you have about 10. And then you check if he's going for air, and if he is, you add Thors. Now here, I still managed to squeeze in 2, which is a really good. Like 2 Thors, they make a huge difference for the air battle. If he doesn't have that many Liberators, you can target them down with the Vikings, and your Thors will just have free reign over their Vikings. It's a very normal timing to push when you're maxed, by the way. Just to show you guys, you always leave a couple tanks at home. Like, I have like 9 tanks with my push, which is more than enough to deal with almost any amount of bio. So we're gonna siege here. As you can see, Blue Flame Hellbat drops are gonna force the bio back. And it's a very easy trade. It's honestly, it's pretty rare that a bio army is gonna trade well with yours. They really need to like have like a bunch of ravens or just a massive surround, you know. Usually how bio players win against mech is just taking it easy, slowing down your push, getting more eco, and then getting their own air army. But here, as you can see, you just push when you're maxed. As long as you leave a couple tanks home, it's really fine. This push was looking really strong, but I made a mistake here of losing some tanks to the Liberator. But as you can see, still trading totally fine. My upgrades are coming in as well. And my 5th base is getting saturated here. Now, the next move in production is, I didn't show it, but it's actually to get 2 extra starports with the fusion core. I noticed that making extra factories is really not that helpful. The only, like, in the end game, mass libs actually counter mass Thors. So the only way you beat it is by making more air units yourself. Thors are really good, but if there's 15 libs, you're really gonna have to make your own Vikings as well. So, sorry about I keep doing that, by the way, the scrolling. It's because I'm drag scrolling. You really need to make your own Vikings as well, so you get 2 extra. Make reactors on these, or in my case, I don't have that much money. I'm overgassing a little bit because I didn't make enough SCVs to saturate this properly. But yeah, normally you get reactors on this and you start making mass Viking as well. Now, another really good tip is that once you see the opponent has a good air army and is owning you in the air, that's when you get the remaining 2 upgrades on this, because they are both really useful tools to help against air. Widow Mines with Drilling Claws are really good against Vikings. Like, if he doesn't have a lot of bio left, he just has to run for your Widow Mines. Like, they see so fast with Drilling Claws and they kill all the Vikings, they clump so hard. And if you want to play an active style, you can actually play like tank with Cyclones and run around all the time. So if you're getting owned in the air and you're not sure how to come back, that's when you start these two upgrades and you can start producing mines. If you really wanna turn up the tempo, you get cyclones as well. But in this game, since I was totally fine, you go for a decent Thor count. I don't know, somewhere between. You can even make a little bit more. Like 3 to 8 is fine, but 8 is already a lot. Like, he has too much bio units for me to be able to afford 8 Thors right now. But Thors are actually, they're strong. Even against bio, they're strong. Don't underestimate the Thor. The only position you don't want to get stuck in is having 15 Thors against a guy with even more Liberators, because then your Thors just don't have a chance anymore. You need to work on an army composition. Like, this is a really good, well-balanced army composition. I have enough tanks to clear the bio, 9 tanks here. And I have a really good anti-air. 4 Thors with 12 Vikings, that's really good. Now we're gonna be spamming command centers here. The next step in production after this, by the way, is to make 2 more starports. You go up to 5. I was so in the flow of this game, I didn't even make reactors on these. That happens to me more often, but it's fine. Here you can see the impact of the Thors. He has BCs, but the Thor is actually really strong. He Yamato's them. So many of the Vikings are already dead. As you can see here, I didn't have that many tanks, but the bio army gets crushed. And right now, like, it looks, you would say, oh wait, it's good for him, but you can see that I traded out very well here again. The mech armies are just meant to trade really well against the bio army, I feel like. Also, don't forget to get your building armor. This game I forgot it, but if you're not sure where your opponent's army is, you could get surprised on a planetary. Building armor just, it almost completely kills bio army running bio planetary, so please don't forget these 2 upgrades. They're actually very valuable as well. Now, this was a tournament match, and there was some stress and nerves, so obviously I'm gonna make a few mistakes, but trust me when I say that these upgrades are actually amazing. Also, against the style, I don't know how often you guys play against this. Sometimes I play against mass ravens with bio. And in that case, turrets and mines are your best friend. You want to put mines far out, and you're like, but why mines? It's because ravens are so good because they can disable your units. Like, 4 ravens could disable almost all of your tanks in a fight. And if you have a lot of turrets, like forward turrets like here, you know, and some mines, it's really hard for the ravens to actually go in without, like, suiciding themselves, you know. So if you play against someone who plays Raven Bio, I would recommend to get turrets and mines out. For which, you see, this is what I always do as well. Once I realize I forgot them, I just queue them both up. They're such valuable upgrades. Now, an important point of mech is also the Hellion run-bys. And these days, I don't do Hellion run-bys as much anymore, because I feel like having Hellbats in your army is so good to survive. So Hellion run-bys are really for when you feel like you're well set up, and for the late game. At this point in the game, my army is so high-tech. His army is getting more and more high-tech. You don't really want that many Hellions anymore. So that's when you have Hellions left. You can see I only have 10, 6 Hellbat, 4 Hellions. That's when you start running by those Hellions. Because in the late game, it's really easy to get damage on with Hellions. There's like, how many bases does he have? He has 6 bases. There's no way they're all protected, you know. And yeah, also if you're getting attacked and you're just like, if you're like being contained, that's the right word I think. If you're being contained, that's when you send Hellions around as well, because just sitting against a contain doesn't really do anything. It just buys your opponent time, delays your fourth. That's when you can get some counter damage with Hellions. But a lot of Terrans actually overdo it, and I used to be guilty of this as well. So nowadays I just try to do run-bys on the right timing. Now here you see I have the Taurus, but Taurus, it's only 6 Liberators, but Liberators, if they're already sieged up, they're actually gonna destroy your Taurus. So you have to be really careful of attacking at the Liberator fields. Now, this is the reason why you always keep some tanks at home. I was a bit too greedy pushing. I saw that vulnerable base and I was like, oh, let's go for it. And still, it's not that big of an issue. I'm gonna have to bring my stuff back. Make sure to pay attention to your production. If you start focusing your production with something like this, just fly it. It's annoying, but you don't want to be making remaking starports and stuff all the time. Landed Viking, actually a very strong unit, by the way. Don't underestimate the Landed Viking. Don't forget your upgrades either. Hey, what the hell? That was almost... Okay, that was a bit creepy, actually. It's like he was listening to me. So here we go. It was a bit of a brawl. Oh, actually, I did add my extra star pros before. Okay, so yeah, I just remade what I lost, basically. That's how you do it. Another tip. If a bio army base trades you, like, not like this drop that just happened. If a bio army base trades you, you follow it. You can't... you shouldn't be base traded against a bio with mech. A lot of times what happens is... This bio army, like, he doesn't have too much right now. Actually, he does... Yeah, this is enough. 27 bio units. Imagine if you had it all together, run into your base. That's enough to completely deny your production forever. But a mech army can be cleaned up by an air army. If you base trade and you're not looking for 1 second, and the Liberator siege on your army is gonna die. So if a bio player base trades you, what you do is you go like this. You hunt it down and you corner it. Like, as you can see, he looked to get some good lip shots off, but actually, yeah, he just lost most of his army. Like, if a bio player base trades you, chase the army. Don't just let him base trade you. You actually have to kind of like corner him. And in this phase of the game, your income is also very good. My income in this case is better than his even. Yeah, just don't get into that position where a bio player is denying your entire production with 3 medevacs worth of bio, you know. As a mech player, like, I can't just walk through the map and walk up here with my mech army. If I could, if you're already here and then he starts base trading, then you go and mess his base up, right? I'm talking more about the position if you're here and he starts base trading over here, then you definitely just follow the army around and that's it. Like, he's doing a good job of playing his mech as well. I think making some more Ravens early would have been nice for him. Ravens is a really good unit against mech, so when you see Ravens, you really have to respect them. You can't just move out recklessly anymore. Against this army, you kind of want to move out recklessly because you lose when the Liberators are sieged on you. So you can just move around until he sieged all the time, basically. Now, this is kind of a lip count I'm talking about. 11 Thors, they actually don't really beat 11 lips. If I attack in here, it's gonna be a bad trade for me. So in low numbers, Thors are great, but really try to not overestimate the army. Thors are expensive and they're big, strong units. But if you attack into siege lips, it's actually not gonna go well for you. So if like this, he sieged my base. What I did is I just run my army to his side of the map and have like a small squad here. It's not even a small squad, it's a pretty big squad, like 40 supply or something, I don't know. To split up against that lips. Like, you don't want to fight with all your army against these lips here, you know. These lips are actually going to own the Thor, so what I did is split it up. Now, he did an amazing job here, I have to admit. He had the Ravens here, sent the lips here. As you can see, he actually sieged them right in front. So this is the only reason I fought. Pay attention to it closely, okay? Look. He's gonna siege his lips in range of all my Vikings, and everything's already shooting, and then his Vikings come. So this is when he starts shooting. He already lost, like, he already lost 5 Liberators, actually. So this is a fight, you can see the difference. I swear, guys, if I attacked into all those lip siege with my Thors, I would have gotten crushed. But because he sees them like this, like, you have to get the opportunity, but don't be overconfident. Don't attack in, but if you have the opportunity, you can actually mess up all the Liberators. And then, yeah, the Thors are just so much damage. Look how many Vikings died. The Thors really, if they have the chance, so much damage here. Now, yeah, a big mistake I made this game is that he denied my eco, and I was so focused on pushing that I didn't get it back. This point should have been a very strong winning position. But because I wasn't landing these bases in particular with all these mules, that actually cost me a lot here. Now, I should be, as soon as my army gets owned here, as you can see, this is how strong the Ravens are. This is why you need to respect them. I should have gone back. I was too overconfident, that's what happens. And here you can see what I was talking about, starting that mine production. Mines are actually really good against bio as well. If you have 2 tanks sieged, 3 mines in front, it's actually really hard for bio to stem into it. At this point of the game as well, the bio Terran is usually going to be very low on medevacs. 27 Marauders, 19 Marines for just 4 medevacs, and 3 medevacs are even here. Like, they're going to be stemmed, and mines, if they hit once, they're going to do so much damage. So really, as you can see, get those mines out. In this case, Liberators are also very good because most of his army was Ravens. I killed a lot of his army. So you can actually get those Liberators against Bio as well. What's really important is this tech dance, I guess. As a mech player, you push a lot and you can keep changing your tech on it. This army is actually so much scary because of these mines. Now, he doesn't have his Ravens here. Or did I snipe them? Oh, I actually sniped them, okay. If these two mines were there, I don't think he would ever stim in. But if they weren't there, he might actually give it a shot. Like, those mines are big. Try to spread out mines. Stuff like here as well, if you have a lot of them. Now you can get those Liberators. I see, once again, this is his army. It's trash. It's 5 red Vikings. And Liberators are going to do very good here. Obviously, I have enough Vikings to deal with it myself. So he's actually going in. Good mind drags by him, didn't get the Vikings. It was a good move though. Once again, even here he was forced to micro. Just the army composition, you know. If you have a good army composition, mech is pretty much always gonna win the fight. That's why, you know, those tips are important. This game, just to comment back on the Macfield stuff, this is not a game... wait, nice one. Nice Liberator. This is not a game where you get Macfield because he has so much bio. Earlier in the game, when his army was like a little squad of bio, 11 Liberators, 20 Vikings, that's when I could have made Cyclones to change up the tempo, because Vikings and Libs die so fast to Cyclones and they're bad. But if bio is really good against Cyclones. So that's what you need to think about. Before, I could have tried to make Cyclones, I decided not to. I was confident in the normal army I have. But now it's not... yeah, this is not... like, you can't make Cyclones against this anymore. There you go. As you can see, Liberator is actually very good against this because the Marine count here is very low. They will focus on making Marauders. So you can see those Libs are going to stay awake and he's going to have to push through. The mines coming in. You can see mines actually do a lot of damage here. Very strong unit. I know they didn't get the spotlight that I was hyping them up in this game, but trust me, mines are actually... You know, I don't know if you guys ever watch other mech Terrans. There's like a few Terrans in Europe that are like classic mech Terrans, like Braddock, Hours, and you will actually see them making random mines a lot. And you know, they know their shit. They're good mech players, and I copied that from them, and it's actually very useful. It's been helping me a lot. Also, if you don't want to get into like a mass Viking game, or if your starports are late, you can also play Thor Mine against Viking Liberator, because they need to be sieged up or have bio ready or something for the mines, because else they siege up on you, siege up into your Thors, and then yeah, the mines are just gonna walk under them and kill the air army. So yeah, it's honestly, it's mostly a game of composition. Be safe in the early game. This build's very safe. Try to copy it. Obviously, if you have your own build, it's fine. Every TVP build has a weakness. But, you know, try to stick to that basic principle. Get all those defenses up with the early Terrors, the 3 Ravens and stuff. And I hope, especially the army composition tips in this video should be very helpful. I think army composition is the most important of this. Once you have the money, make a lot of command centers. I lost a lot this game, but I lost a lot of command centers. Or make a lot of command centers. It's going to help you out a lot. Command centers are also a piece of a big part of base structure. If I was ever rich enough to make a planetary here, it would have helped me out a lot. Anyway, I hope this guide helped you out, guys. Let me know what next topic for the guide you want in the comments. It's always very useful. And don't forget to subscribe and like. Turn notifications. See you guys next time. Adios.